and welcome back to Tipoff 2023-2024. Dr. Ron Poniewasz, joined by his good friend, my good friend, Professor Larry Kelly. This is our playoff edition. And Larry Kelly, welcome back.
Well, a little bird whispered in my ear and said that we may change the name of this podcast to Good Guy, Bad Guy Sports. And I'll let the audience figure out who the good guy is. Of course, we all know who that is, and who the bad guy is. But that's, we'll save that for later.
That's
nice
okay.
to be with you, Ronnie. Nice to be with you. See how nice I am? See what a good guy I am?
Yeah, notice I didn't give you all your 88 titles, including the attendant in the boys' room at Holy Redeemer when you were 8 years old, and all the other stuff that you wanted me to say last week.
Oh, I said I was the coach of the Holy Redeemer 5th and 6th grade girls championship basketball team. That's like my only title.
So let me ask you something, Mr. Public School guy. Did you guys throw a lasso around the entire equator, over the entire solar system and recruit at Holy Redeemer, Mr. Public School guy?
No, if it was up to me, I would have. But no, it was all Holy Redeemers in Ellwood City. We had all Ellwood City girls. So a couple from Riverside. So maybe we did recruit. So, but you know how I feel about that. And maybe that'll be the topic on Good Guy, the first topic on Good Guy, Bad Guy Sports.
There you go. All right. So we have a couple topics this week. As always, we have an athlete of the week, and our athlete played in just one game, but had quite a performance. And then our topics, we will talk about a basketball program used to a lot of success, and this year just didn't find the success that it has had in recent years. And we'll break down the playoff games. But first, athlete of the week, and it's Neshannock High's Talan Anderton, a 5'8" junior guard. Last week, one game, he had a career-high 21 points in a 69-67 overtime road win over Mohawk. That's section champion Mohawk, which was going for section perfection. They go on the road, and they defeat the Warriors in that game.
Wow, what a big win for Neshannock. And, this young man, I won't say came out of nowhere, but I don't think anybody expected him to be the leading scorer in this game. 21 points. What is really impressive, he's 8 for 8 from the foul line. And in overtime, he goes to the foul line and he's 4 for 4. Impressive stuff by a junior guard who, hasn't been the leading scorer all year for the Lancers. But to go to Mohawk and win on a road, that's a big win. It's hard to do. It's hard to win at Mohawk. My daughter's played down there in girls basketball through the years, and that's a tough place to win. And it's a little better redemption for the Neshannock boys, who got beat at home by Mohawk earlier in the year. But it had to be a great game. Overtime game, man, come on. It's as good as it gets.
Yeah. So Neshannock finishes the section portion of the schedule at 10-2, which is second place, one game behind Mohawk. Neshannock is 18-3 overall. And Larry, just those 3 losses. The first one is in the season opener to Mercyhurst Prep, 63-53. They lost at home to Mohawk, 64-52. And they lost to Ellwood City on the road. So 2 home losses, Mercyhurst Prep and Mohawk, and then the road loss to Ellwood City Lincoln, 54-47. Larry, obviously, Ellwood's a playoff team. Mohawk's a playoff team. I'm sure probably Mercyhurst Prep is a playoff team. They have no slouches in their losses this year.
Well, no, they 18-3 is a pretty good record, my friend. You can go 18-3. You're a pretty good basketball team. And when you beat Mohawk on the road, you can beat anybody. You really can. I imagine they got a pretty high seed. What were the Lancers seed, Ronnie, if you know it off the top of your head? And they're going to get a home game, I'm sure. I'd be surprised if they don't. And, that's the big advantage about we had this discussion, you and I. I said seeding's not a big deal. It's a little more important in basketball because you get a home game. And a home game in hoops is a bigger deal than a home game in football. And, playing at home, even though you can get beat, it's an advantage in playing at home. And when you can beat Mohawk on the road, you can beat anybody. And, this young man, Talan Anderton, he keeps providing another scoring option like this, the Lancers are going to be tough to beat down the stretch.
And really, to another point is seeds should matter in all sports, because in football you get a home playoff game. Certainly I believe baseball and softball you get home playoff games. So yeah, you get home games just the same in other sports. To answer your question, Neshannock is the 4 seed, and they will play at home on Monday, February 19th at 7 p.m. against Mount Pleasant.
Okay. Well, like I said, playing at home, I know you get a home game when you're a football team, and in baseball, you don't get home games. You get a bye normally. We were at Shenango, we were a 2 seed, I think 2 years in a row. You'll get a bye, but playing at home in basketball is a big advantage. And, you work all year to get that edge, and you got to win the first one before you can win them all. And, again, if Neshannock can go on the road and beat Mohawk and finish the year 18-3, they could beat anybody. Normally you're splitting hairs between the top seed in the WPIAL championship and the 4 seed. There's not much different.
Yeah, and the name Mount Pleasant, it jogs my memory. I do believe that they are coached by first-year coach, former Ellwood City girls basketball standout, and you might have to help me on the pronunciation of her last name, Makoviak, I believe.
Yes, right.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Interesting. Are you telling me that she's coaching the boys team?
Yes, this is her first year. If I have the right school, I'm pretty sure Mount School she is coaching. She is coaching the boys, and this is her first season at the helm.
You don't see that too often. Not that it can't be done, because there's some great women's basketball coaches. We talked about one last week, Luann Grabowski. I'm sure Luann would be just as effective coaching the boys at Neshannock as she is coaching the girls. So, I don't think it matters. A good coach is a good coach. You have men in the women's game. You don't see a lot of women, however, in the men's game, but that'll be interesting.
Yeah, coming back to Lawrence County to coach for sure. So, Larry, when I look at Neshannock, and I remember last week you telling me, when one kid scores all the points, it's kind of hard because you don't have as much distribution. They focus on one player. If I had to guess, Neshannock would be your type of team. Any given night, anybody can beat you. Talan Anderton, 21 points, career high. You got a Jake Rind on the team. LJ Keith, and I'm trying to remember all the kids' names.
Well, Anthony Bonner, and you're missing David Quat, who's probably the big scorer. I mean, a game in and game out. It was Quat, it was Bonner, it was Keith, it was Rind. It wasn't Anderton often who led the team in scoring. So, you need a good coach is not going to allow one guy to beat you, or even two. And scoring, the ability to score the basketball from all 5 positions, I think is really, really important when you're playing good teams in playoff basketball.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, that's Talan Anderton, our athlete of the week from Neshannock High School, 5'8" junior guard. In the one game that the team played last week, he had a career high 21 points in a 69-67 overtime road win over Mohawk. Don't go away too far, because coming up next, we have the Red Hurricane Minute, and we will talk about the playoff teams and the games that are coming up in our area. We'll do that next, right here on Tip-Off.
We all know there's an advantage to being the home team, to playing at home. And at LGKG, we have been your home team for personal injury cases involving automobile accidents and workers' compensation claims for over 90 years. At LGKG, over 10,000 clients have trusted us to represent them. We know how to present your case to a Western Pennsylvania jury. We know what makes them tick. We know how to win.
Okay, so now we are going to go on over to our basketball playoff matchups that we have. And first off, we have Thursday, February 15th, Hillel Academy at Union. This is a 7 p.m. matchup in Class 1A action. Larry, this game was moved from Friday to Thursday because Hillel Academy is a Jewish Orthodox day school, so they moved it up with their beliefs of can't play Friday after sundown through, I believe, Saturday or Sunday. So they moved it up. Larry, we have Lucas Stanley with 447 points on the season for Union. He missed 2 games, so his scoring average is I don't have his scoring average written down, but played in 20 games, 447 points.
Yeah, he's a player. He's a Stanley. There's been a long line in lineage of Stanleys who could score the basketball, starting with their father many years ago. So, you're the number 1 seed, right? It's what you told me. And you're playing the 5th or the 16. If there's 16, I don't know how many are in that bracket, Ronnie.
Well, the Union boys, they're 5. The Union girls.
Good. Okay. So the 5 will play the 12, and you're playing at home. It's a game that they should win. Again, I'm almost afraid to say that, but if there was a betting line on that, Union would be the favorite.
February 17th is a day for girls basketball as we have Brownsville at Neshannock in a noon matchup, Class 3A playoffs. Ellwood City against Our Lady of the Sacred Heart. That's at noon at Avonworth, so that's on a neutral floor. And Mohawk against Shadyside Academy, and that game is 4 p.m. also at Avonworth. There's a triple header at Avonworth. They rejuggled the schedule today, Tuesday. There's been some shifting of where teams are playing, and that's why Mohawk's game went from at Shadyside at noon to at Avonworth at 4 p.m. That's part of the triple.
Why doesn't the high seed get a home game? I don't get it.
Well, Olsh, I don't think their facility is deemed proper enough for basketball playoff.
Okay.
Too small. I couldn't tell you about Shadyside Academy. I've been to Olsh, and it's a bandbox. Larry, Shadyside, I don't know that I've ever been there. If I have, I don't recall it. So there's a triple header at Avonworth that day for that purpose.
What seed is Olsh?
Olsh is 7 and Ellwood is 10.
Okay. Yeah. Well, it's a break for Ellwood. They don't have to go on the road. I mean, they're playing it on a neutral floor. I mean, that big advantage playing at home. I've always said that, you know what I mean? Even in junior high basketball, when I coached 9th grade, I mean, we might have lost in the 12 years I was there. 12 years I was there. We might have lost 1 or 2 games in 12 years at home. And that's just junior high basketball. And that advantage gets bigger at the varsity level because you're practicing more on the court. There's more people in the stands. Big advantage playing at home.
Yeah, so Ellwood will have to hit the road. It's just a road to the neutral floor.
Right.
Now, here's the thing. We're running a piece in the Wednesday edition written by Joe Sager, and it's a capsule look at all the playoff matchups. And one of the comments from Dina Noble, the Ellwood City coach, recently they lost a road game against Mohawk where they were outscored, I believe it was 18-1 in the fourth quarter, which they led, I believe, by about 8 or 10 points going to the fourth quarter. So they got really had the boots put to them in the fourth quarter and lost that game. They lost a good-sized lead and the game. And her comment was, if we had beaten Mohawk, she believes that they would have been a 3 seed, Larry, because with them being 7-3 in league, that would have made them 8-2 in league. And Neshannock and Beaver Falls both went 8-2, so it would have been a 3-way tie for the section title. And she's confident that her team again would have been the 3 seed. Any thoughts on that?
Well, possibility. The WPIAL normally gets it right. They don't always get it right. The seeding committee, but they normally do. I don't know if you would have gone from a 10 to a 3, but I can tell you that's a tough conference. That's a tough conference they're playing in. And so, if you're on par with Beaver Falls, who had a really good team this year in Neshannock, you're probably going to get a higher than a 10 seed. That's for sure. Might not have been 3, but probably would have been in top 6 somewhere.
Yeah, a good basketball team in Ellwood City girls. Dina Noble, the coach, her daughter Claire Noble has committed to Clarion University and will play for Clarion. Another game that we're going to talk about is Mohawk, also on Saturday. Again, against Shadyside Academy, 4 p.m. at Avonworth. And Mohawk is led by Aaron Capalbo, who recently went over the 1,000-point mark. And then Larry, to backtrack, we mentioned Neshannock. They're led by a lot of girls. You know, again, like the boys, any given night, any given player. Caitlin Freeze is their lone senior. So we're going to see how that works for Neshannock. Inexperience, maybe will that help them or hurt them? Maybe what you don't know can't hurt you, so to speak.
Well, again, what was their seed?
Neshannock girls, they are the
4 seed. Yeah, so they're playing at home. You know, it's again, the comfort level of playing at home to a young team is very helpful, and I'm sure it'll help Neshannock. I guarantee you that Luann's watched the film on the team they're going to play more than once, so they'll be well prepared. But you know, the thing about basketball, and I've always said this: number one, you have to rebound your own end, which is the defensive end, so that you don't get physically dominated. And if you do that, you know, then oftentimes the difference is who runs the better offense and who's knocking down shots. And, you know, you can get upset. There you go. Newcastle, Seneca Valley. You know, Seneca Valley was knocking down shots that day. And I don't know what the rebounding total was. I'm sure nobody got dominated on the boards. But, you know, as I said, Seneca Valley had 2 kids score 53 to 67 points. Wow. You know, and so what the point I'm trying to make is rebound your own end and knock down shots, and you can beat anybody. And that's what Seneca Valley did to Newcastle last week. And so playing at home is important. But you still got to make shots in a basketball game. You have to. You have a cold shooting night, anything can happen.
Sure. A lot of times coaches will tell you, and you have to specify it, whether you're talking college or pro or even high school, they'll say the last 4 of the first half and the first 4 of the second half in terms of minutes are huge. But being that Neshannock is so young, is the first 4 minutes of the entire game the biggest for them because they're so young?
That's a good point. You know, we don't agree very often, but I would agree with that. When you're dealing with a young team, the last thing you want to do is go down 12-2 in the first 3-4 minutes of the game. You don't want that to happen. But you're also right in those first 4 minutes of the third quarter after everybody makes their adjustments. Ralph talked about it, Blundo, all the time. First 4, third quarter, come on, let's come out and make a statement. And but with a young team, I think you're right. You don't want to go down early. You know, in a game where it's one and done. You don't want to do that with a young team because then you get out of character. The hardest thing to do is in a playoff game, and I don't care what the sport is, football, basketball, baseball, is panic. Get out of character as to who you are and what you do because it can go sideways quickly when you know it's a one and done situation.
Those 3 games I mentioned are all girls games in Class 3A. We will move forward to Monday, February 19th. These games are all boys games from Class 3A. Ellwood City at Washington, in Mount Pleasant at Neshannock. Again, Mount Pleasant coached by former Ellwood City girls basketball standout Ann McAlviak. And she had a school record 59 points back in, I believe, I saw the headline recently, earlier today, 1989 maybe. I'd have to look at that. I don't know if that's been equaled or surpassed since then, but 59 points, that's incredible. And that was in an overtime game. I believe it said 72-69, if memory serves me. And then the final game of Monday night, McGuffey at Mohawk. Larry, what strikes your fancy there?
What was Ellwood City's seed, Ronnie, if you know?
That's an 8-9 game, and they're the road team, 9.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, I thought they'd be a little higher seed. You know, it's hard to go down to Washington and win. But when you got Joe Roth on your team, you know, I watched him play live last week when he broke the record, Danny Alloy's record for scoring at Lincoln High School. He's not only a great scorer, but he's a great rebounder and an impressive, unselfish distributor of the basketball. Most of the points that Ellwood generates comes from him directly, either scoring or assisting, starting the fast break, with a rebound and an outlet pass. And the Ellwood guards shoot it pretty good, Ronnie. So I like Ellwood's chances in an 8-9 game. I do, because I think they should have been a higher seed. I've watched them play. That's a good team and well coached. Coach Phillips does a good job, not only in the football field, but also on the basketball court. He really does.
That's Dan Bradley is the.
I'm sorry, Dan Bradley. I apologize. Yeah, Coach Bradley.
Now here's probably the reason why they're the 9 seed, Larry. And we talked about this a couple weeks ago when they were going into the second half of the schedule, and we said, okay, you went through the first half of league play. You lost to Neshannock and you lost to Mohawk 0-2. You got them again in the turn of the section play. You're going to have to win at least one of them, and they did. They went 1-3 against those top 2 teams. They beat everybody they were supposed to beat. The teams below them. But when probably the committee looks at that and say, well, 15 wins, yeah, that's pretty good. But 1-3 against Neshannock and Mohawk, I need wins, not 1-3. So that's probably how they got stuck with 9.
I'm sure that's it. But Neshannock and Mohawk are 2 of the best teams in the bracket.
Mm-hmm.
So, had they gone 2-2, taking care of business at home, that would have been probably would have benefited them. Good. You can't lose at home when you're making a championship run. You've got to protect that home court. But Ellwood City's a good basketball team. I watched them play. They're well coached. As I said, Coach Bradley does a nice job, and Joe Roth is the real deal. Joseph Roth. He likes to be called Joseph.
Mm-hmm. Larry, putting you on the spot, how many points does Joseph Roth score against Washington on Monday?
25.
Do they win?
Yeah, they do. I think they do win. I really do.
Okay.
I do.
25 puts him at 1,992 points.
Oh, man. They got to win. They got to win. They got to play another game. I want to see the young man get 2,000 points. He's such an unselfish player. He's just a quality young man. I watch him play. He reminds me a little bit of Malik Hooker. Makes a great play, runs back and plays defense. No pomp or circumstances with that young man. And, that's the way we did it at Newcastle. I had a kid shoot a 3, make it one time, give him one of these on the way back. Okay, I called timeout. Come sit beside me. That's unacceptable behavior. We don't do that. That's good players, and you are a good player. They don't do that. So he sat down. He learned his lesson. And that's what I admire about Joseph Roth. He is that player.
Mm-hmm. And one interesting fact that I just was reminded of today, Dan Bradley is also the football coach. Naturally, as we just mentioned, Ellwood City made the football playoffs. They were a one and done in football playoffs, 48-6 at Washington. Yeah,
well, it's all about the players, Ronnie. We've had this discussion. It's all about the players, and you got to have the guys. You got to have the horses to win. The Kentucky Derby, you got to have horses. He's got a couple horses on this basketball team, and I'm predicting they're winning. I hope I don't jinx them, because my last prediction didn't turn out very well. But I like Ellwood City's chances, and I want to see this Joseph Roth get 2,000.
Yep, and we talked about Neshannock a little bit extended with Athlete of the Week. Mohawk, we have Bobby Fadden, 489 points this year. He's played in all 22 games, Larry. He's just a sophomore and has 951 career points. Again, just a sophomore.
He could have 2,000. I remember that young man when he played against my 9th grade team as an 8th grader. And, we had a really good athlete on him, watching him, couldn't stop him. The young man's special. He's a good baseball player. He's a good basketball player. He's a good football player. He got a lot of Jay Rona genes in him. And, this kid, he's probably going to get 2,000. And that, to get 2,000 points in a high school career, not many guys do that, Ronnie.
Yeah, that's very special for sure. I gotta think that they play at least 3 WPIAL games at least, and you're only 49 points away from hitting 1,000. If he scores the way he's been scoring all season, assuming that maybe one of those games isn't a complete blowout and he's playing only a half, he's probably at 1,000 before they go to the state playoffs. So that's incredible for a little less than 2 years.
For a sophomore, I'll say so.
Yeah.
I'll say so.
Okay, so we're going to move forward again to Tuesday, February 20th. We have Eden Christian at Shenango in a Class 2A matchup, 7 p.m. Larry, we have for Shenango, we have Brody McQuiston at 500 points this year and 1,669 points for his career.
Yeah, what seed did Shenango get?
Shenango got number 7.
Okay, so this is a 7-10 game. So they're playing a good team. You know, there's not much difference. Brody McQuiston's the real deal. He is. Is he 6'3", and he can play all 5 positions on the court, including point guard. And he's a great young man. I got to know him. You know, he didn't play baseball for me, but I got to know him. He's a fierce competitor. He's very cerebral. Of course, his father's the coach. But what impresses me about Brody is, again, at that size, and I think he's 6'3", he can play all 5 positions on the court and do it well and score from outside, inside. He'll need to continue to have big games if Shenango is going to go far. Let me give a shout out to a couple of my baseball guys. Jimmy Rowe, he shoots it like his cousin, Ralphie Blundo, from the 3-point line. Jimmy's a dead eye. He was an athlete of the week 1 week for the Newcastle News, and that was well deserved. And of course, you got Joey Campoli. He's a junkyard dog, man. You got my man. I'm trying to think who else plays on that team. That they're tough kids. They're scrappers at Shenango, and I think they got a chance to make a little bit of a run here. But Brody will have to be the man for them, because they're going to key on him, and they're not going to make it easy for him. And when things get rough in crunch time, the ball will be in his hand, and he's going to have to do it. And they're going to have to rebound their own end. Jason Malley's a tough kid. He played baseball for me too. He might be their leading rebounder. So, they got a chance. They got the formula to do it. They shoot the ball well. They got a big time scorer, and they rebound their own end.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they've already beaten this team once. I believe it was in late December at the Laurel Holiday Tournament. So how much does that help a team, knowing that they've already beat them, even though it was quite a while ago?
Well, I think it's helpful. You got film on them. The coach saw the other team play, and you're able to pick up your opponent's tendencies. That's the key. Everybody has tendencies, and you have to be able to identify them and prepare your team to meet them. And it's one thing to watch a team on film. It's another thing to see them live. I think it's an advantage having played them one time in a coach's ability to pick up the tendencies of their opponent.
Mm-hmm. And Thursday, lastly, our last game for the first round, February 22nd, top-seeded Union has a bye and quite a bit of time off. They'll face the winner of 8th-seeded West Green and 9th-seeded Jeanette, and that'll be at a time to be announced, probably 7 p.m. I can't imagine that would be part of a doubleheader. It'll be at Union, so more than likely 7 p.m. Larry?
Yeah, I mean, Union's the number 1 seed, right? The Union girls, and they're playing at home. This should be a game that they take care of. You want to make sure that you don't develop any bad habits. You don't, even if it's a blowout, you're still running your offense. You're still executing on the defensive end. Nobody gets hurt. Survive in advance, and you go to the next round.
When you have a team, Larry, that is defending district and or state champs, how much tougher is that for a team when they're hearing that over and over? Union with defending WPIAL and state champs, is that adding to the pressure, or is that the white noise? They just kind of
it's hard to repeat. I've always said, when you win a championship, there's always 1 or 2 plays in that championship run that if they had gone the other way, a call, a play, it might not have happened. And just to bring you back to reminisce, 2014, Newcastle High School, we're playing Abington. There were 2 plays in that game that could have went the other way. A block charge call at the end of the game where Malik Hooker takes the charge, and I think clearly it was a charge, but if that goes the other way, Abington takes the lead with less than 10 seconds, 20 seconds to go in the game. And if you remember, and I don't know if you were there, we're up by 3. We're up by 3. The last shot of the game that Abington takes from the corner was a 3-point shot that literally slid across the front of the rim. That shot goes in, the game's tie, and who knows what happens in overtime. So the point I'm trying to make is, if Union's going to make another championship run, there's going to be a couple plays that have to go your way to win that championship. It's just the way sports is, Ronnie, because the competition gets close. Shenango High School, we won a WPIAL baseball championship. They got the tying run on third base with 2 outs. The kid hits a shot in the right field, and it's right at our right fielder. Our right fielder, Braden D'Angelo, I can still see him catching it, got to move about 2 steps to his right. If he has to move 5 steps, it's probably a triple, and who knows what happens. So, again, you'll always look back. Can Union do it again? Absolutely, they can. Will there be a couple of plays that might define whether or not they get to that championship game and win it? Oh, yeah. Every coach will tell you that. I don't care what sport, they're going to tell you that.
Yep. Yeah, I was at that game, Chambersburg, I want to say.
It was at Chambersburg. Man. And, man, I can still remember that game. That last possession, I think I was on my knees. Assistant coach isn't allowed to stand, but I couldn't sit on the bench. And I was on my knees, and I can still see that last shot that they took from the corner slide across the front of the rim. We win, and we win a state championship.
Yep, that's right. And Kelly Cleaver, Union standout, went over 1,000 points this year for them. So that's one of their top players. But they have a lot of good players, Larry. You can try and stop her. I believe Kylie Frustorfer, Mia Pruz. There's just so many talented girls on that team that you can't just stop one.
Well, you can't win without them, Ronnie.
Right.
You can't win without them. You got to have good players, experienced good players. And, now Union not only has good players, but they have experienced good players. Because if you don't have them, you can't win. You just can't.
Right. Okay.
So, but I think that guy at Union's a pretty good coach too, isn't he?
Yeah, Rob.
Rob Nogay. I think he's seen the movie before. My man knows how to do it.
Yep,
so
Rob.
we have a lot of good coaches in Lawrence County. These young men and women who participate in sports in Lawrence County, they don't know how lucky they are. They have great coaches and great mentors walking them through their high school years, man. It doesn't happen everywhere. But in Lawrence County, it seems like it always does. And I tip my hat to those men and women that coach sports here in Lawrence County.
They truly are learning from the best. That's there's no question.
Yeah, yes, they are.
Okay, Larry, we have went through all the games. Can you pick out one game in particular that you're excited for, and any parting words?
I think I'm excited to see the Ellwood Washington game. I hope they live stream that. I don't know if you're allowed to in the WPIAL playoffs, but I would watch that one. Like I said, I watched Ellwood play on Friday, and that's a good basketball team. And I think the other games, I think the Lawrence County teams will win comfortably. I do. However, on the road at Washington, Ellwood, the Lincoln High School is going to have the toughest sled in that first round. Yeah,
I believe it's NFHS takes care of that stuff. It's all subscription now from here on the rest of the way. So if you want to watch it, that's how you watch it. Otherwise, I'll be dialed into James Dotson and his crew for LCAP, and they do a fantastic job. And it's a joy to watch them or even listen to them if that's the case. So that's how I will keep track of our county teams the rest of the way.
Jimmy does a great job. Jimmy Dodson does a great job. He really does. He's really good at it in all three sports: football, basketball, baseball. When we made our championship run in Shenango, he was there at every game, kind of following us, and he'd do post-game interviews with the players, and he does a great job.
Yeah, don't sell him short though. Softball, he was on the call for golf, I believe, this year. things like that. I'm sure there's other sports that we're not even announcing. Maybe competitive cheer, could be.
Oh, yeah, those girls are tough, aren't they?
They are.
Yes, they are.
All right, Larry, I appreciate you joining us. Thank you for joining us out there. To our viewers, best of luck to our players and coaches and fan bases, what have you. Come on back next week and we'll see who wins and what kind of games we have to promo next week. And we'll do it here on Tipoff. Thank you, everybody.
We all know there's an advantage to playing at home, to being the home team. At LGKG, we've been your home team personal injury attorneys for auto accident and workers' compensation cases for over 90 years. We know what works and how to win. We have all the credentials. At LGKG, we don't take every case. We handpick our clients so that we can give you the attention you deserve.
For 13 straight years, Newcastle found its way onto the WPIAL playoff bracket and then later on into the PIAA bracket. Last week, quote, Larry Kelly, "We're not getting beat at home by Seneca Valley. That's just not going to happen, period." Close quote. Larry Kelly, the floor is now yours. After a
I got to wear that one. I do. I mean, that when I didn't see the game, I saw the final score. I thought somebody had it wrong, but I did see you like busting my chops on Twitter, and that's when I knew something was up. Like Ralph said, it's extremely disappointing. I mean, you're talking about a program. It isn't about having a winning season. It's about winning a championship. And I think if I go count the rings behind me, I think we've won 7 under Ralph's tutelage or something like that, including a state championship. So, the culture is to win and develop young men in hopes that, when they cross that bridge from adolescence to adulthood, they've developed some life skills that will allow them to be successful. Yeah, disappointing, playing a young team, 3-7 in the section. I mean, this is Newcastle. This is Ralph Blundo. That doesn't happen. But, experience is very valuable. I talk about this all the time. Freshmen, sophomores normally don't beat juniors and seniors. They don't, with rare exception. When freshmen and sophomores do win championships, then you're talking about a 3-year run. And we've seen that at Newcastle. We talked about that. The run in 97, 98, 99, the run in 12, 13, and 14 at Newcastle. These started with really young guys who were special players. And not that Newcastle doesn't have a chance to be special next year, because they do. We're going to be out of 6A. And not that that's any cupcake going to 5A or 4A, because, listen, hoopers are hoopers. I don't think it really matters much how many. It's not like football where you need depth. You need 25 guys. In basketball, you get 5, 6, 7 good ones. You can win a lot of games. And we have a good nucleus coming back, starting with Ralphie Blundo. That young man is special, buddy. He's special. He can score the basketball as well as anybody, as I told you, that I've seen. And I started coaching at Newcastle in 2010. He scores the basketball as well as anybody I've seen in the 12 years that I was there and in the 2 years that I haven't been there. And you got Damian Harrison. He was a sophomore this year. He'll be a junior next year. He'll be a more polished and developed player. He was a very good offensive player, but, you mature physically as you grow older, which will help him as a rebounder and help him on the defensive end. Kyrell Harris, he'll be a senior next year. Nate McKnight, Nori Jackson, that young man's a freshman. He'll be a sophomore next year. Chase Lemon will be a junior. That probably will be the nucleus. There may be some other young guys to come up and get some significant minutes. But I don't see Newcastle going 3-7 2 years in a row. I just, again, I shouldn't say it. I might have jinxed them, and I apologize if I did. But I just could never imagine us getting beat at home in a game that we had to win. It's the first time it ever happened that I can recall. Can you? I mean, maybe we got beat in a playoff game when Cathedral Prep came here
Yep.
and beat us. But other than that, I don't remember ever losing a game at home when we really needed it. So let it be a learning experience. Work, as I know Coach Belundo will have these kids. We only got 2 months off at Newcastle, and that was April and August. Now, this year they may have March off, unfortunately, but they'll be back in the gym in May, and they'll be grinding, and they'll be ready to play again next year.
Mm-hmm. So you weren't there, but did you happen to run it back on stream and watch the game on stream at all?
You know, when we lose, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't watch it. But I did not. But what I noticed that, you know, there were 2 kids for Seneca Valley that scored 53 of the 67 points. That never happens to us. We never let 1 or 2 guys dominate. It just doesn't. And we struggled, truth be told, and Ralph will be the first one to tell you, we struggled defensively all year. You can't give up 67 points in a high school basketball game and expect to win very often. And that's what we did on Friday. So, you know, Ralph will spend a lot of time talking about defense next year, I'm sure, because these kids can score the ball. Damian can score the ball. Ralph can score the ball. Kyrell, these guys can score the basketball. Just got to be a little better defensively.
Yeah, I was trying to monitor that game out of curiosity, plus the other games that were going on. So I knew what was going on in the other games. And to me, the way it seemed is they looked like they were playing in quicksand up to their shoulders. They just couldn't. They would take 1 step forward and about 3 steps back. It would be a real tight game, maybe 1 point differential with Seneca Valley ahead, and the next thing you know, it's 7. And then you're thinking, boy, this could get out of hand. And then Newcastle goes down, hits a 2 or a 3, whatever. Next thing you know, it's back to 1. Okay, get a stop here and possibly get the lead and play from ahead. Nope, it goes back to 3, to 5, to 7, and then comes back down. And, it just went back and forth. They just could never get over the hump, in the second half, especially.
Again, one stat I always look at is how many foul shots did you shoot? And Seneca Valley shot 17. We shot 11. And we made 10 of them. This team they're good shooters. But the fact of the matter is, almost half our points, 24 of our 62 points came from the 3-point line. The game that we won, where we beat Pine Richland, it wasn't that way. Again, getting the ball in the paint, making good things happen, and going to the line. And then as I read the column that Cody wrote, there was a mental mistake. We had a lane violation late in the game that cost us a point in the possession. And, it's a mental mistake. Physical errors, Ronnie, as a coach, and I've been coaching a long time, I forgive them. It happens. Everybody makes them. But championship teams don't make mental errors. And, a lane violation in that situation is a mental error. You can't do it in a close game. Those points and those possessions are too important. But no, I did not watch the film. I only watch when we win, not when we lose. That's bad. I'm a homer. What can I say?
Yeah, I'll drink to that. But one that I recall is I think it might have been a 1-point game, and Newcastle had just made a free throw, and they were setting up their press, and Seneca Valley went pass underneath, layup, foul. And, they just broke the press so easy. And it's like, well, this might not be the night, that it's happening.
That's one thing, the games I watched, and I was only at one live, and I'm almost embarrassed to say that, but I watched a bunch of them on stream. The one thing that we didn't do as well as we've done in years past is create points from our defense. Mm-hmm. Newcastle, we're known for guarding 94 feet. And, our press is unparalleled in my view. And we used to get a lot of easy buckets out of that press. When you got to come down and set up half-court offense, it's not as easy to score. And, our 1-2-2 half-court trap, which, we used that devastated some teams. As you recall, against Quaker Valley, we were down 7 or 8 going into the fourth quarter. We came in that 1-2-2 half-court trap, and they had no answer for it. And we turned that game around in the fourth quarter and beat them. Our press and our half-court trap were not as effective this year as it has been in years past. But I'm sure Ralph will work on that. That's who we are. That's what we do. And, again, there's a strong nucleus coming back.
Mhm.
And I wouldn't be surprised if the Red Hurricane, if they're WPIAL champs in whatever classification they play in next year, because they have a strong nucleus coming back. Now, they're losing JT Warren, DeMarion Young. I had both of those guys. Those are tough kids, smart players. They battle. But those are the only two guys that had significant playing time that we are losing. And so we're going to be bringing back guys with a lot of experience.